Hello, my friend. I have a special invitation for you. I have a new, potent, concentrated group coaching program called Crucible. We begin on April 10th. You can go check out timewitchery.com/crucible, and I'm going to tell you all about it at the end of the show. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Welcome to Mind Witchery. I'm your host, Natalie Miller, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello. Welcome. Welcome here to episode number 20. Today's episode is a spell for harnessing growth mindset. And there's a special treat embedded in this episode. It is a little conversation between me and someone who has taught me a lot about growth mindset, my daughter, my 11-year-old little witchlet daughter, Josephine. So you'll get to hear the two of us talking about growth mindset in a few. Maybe it would be most helpful for me to start out by defining growth mindset for you. So my understanding of growth mindset comes from the work of Carol Dweck. As always, you can find a link to her stuff in the show notes. So Carol Dweck talks about, her book is actually just called Mindset, but in it she focuses on the difference between what she calls growth mindset and fixed mindset. In very simplified terms, growth mindset says people change, people learn, people can build skills, people can adapt, people can grow. Growth mindset is kind of rooted in neuroplasticity, in our understanding that culture is important, that education is vital. Growth mindset sort of says humans are evolving all the time, not just in the long run, but in the short run as well. Life by life, we learn and we grow. And fixed mindset, by contrast, says we are who we are, says that we can identify ourselves in ways that are possibly unchangeable. So I'm a late person. I'm just a person who's late all the time. Fixed mindset says that who you are when you're born is who you are when you die. Says that there are limits to growth and evolution and adaptation and change. So, perhaps obviously, I like to live more in growth mindset. Not exclusively. I think that there probably are some things that are native to a given individual, that there probably are ways that we don't change all that much. But I'm going to say it's not because we cannot. It's just because we don't. So a surefire sign that you're approaching something from fixed mindset is two simple words. I can't. I can't. I can't ever arrive on time. I can't manage my money. I can't speak in public. I can't swim. And listen, I can't is rather popular in human culture. I mean, there are whole categories of memes devoted to I can't. And I don't mean to say that we don't get to use those because, they're fun. And at the same time, because I really do believe that our evolution together, our evolution as humans, depends on all of us, each of us growing and adapting and learning and cultivating different kinds of ways of being in the world. I try to shy away from those words, I can't. So the spell for harnessing growth mindset is to take I can't and exchange it for one of two phrases. The first phrase is along the lines of, I'm learning how to. So here I am. I'm looking at my empty bank account. I think I can't manage my money. And I decide then and there to say, I am learning how to manage my money. And with that shift comes possibility. With that shift comes potential. I think that linguistic shift, that shift in how we choose to think about ourselves in that situation is everything. It opens up possibility, and even just take a moment to feel what happens in your body. So think about something that you, quote unquote, can't do. I can't remember people's names. I can't show up on time. I can't manage my money. Think about some place where you've closed that down and just pause for a moment and feel that in your body. What happens in your body when you believe, I can't do that thing? And now, same exact skill or tendency. I'm learning how to. I'm learning how to remember people's names. I'm learning how to show up on time. I'm learning how to manage my money. In your body, what's the shift, the energetic, the somatic, the emotional shift you get from I can't to I'm learning how to? Okay, so I said one of two phrases. I'm learning how to, or I'm figuring out. That's one direction to go. But you know what? Sometimes you just don't want to. Sometimes when we say, I can't, ... it's not because we aren't able. It's because we prefer not to. And in that case, this is my recommendation. Claim that shit. Declare it. Declare it. I choose not to show up on time. It's my choice. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I've decided that other things are more important. I choose not to show up on time. I choose not to remember people's names. You know what? I remember their stories. I remember their faces. I have trouble with their names, and so I've let it go. I've decided it's not that important to me. I choose not to. I think it's worth feeling this one in the body as well. So find another I can't that you have. And maybe an I can't that it is more in the category of something that you just really don't like to do, right? It might even be, I don't really like tidying my desk, for example. Right? Okay, so feel it in your body. I can't, ... One more time, feel it. I can't, ... And then shift here. I choose not to, ... So the one that I just did personally, I did, I can't track my expenses. And then I shifted to, I choose not to track my expenses. And what happens when I say I choose not to track my expenses is the guilt, the shame, the self-loathing kind of goes away and a curiosity opens up. Possibility opens up. I choose not to, but I would like to have it done. Maybe I could hire someone else to do it. Maybe I could ask my partner to track the household expenses. Maybe I could get a bookkeeper to do that for me. Where there was shame and blame, now there's the potential to grow and evolve the situation. Okay, so that's it. It's really not that complicated. It's taking I can't out of our vocabulary and deciding instead to say, I'm learning how to, or I choose not to. Okay, now I think is a good moment for you to listen to the little conversation I had with Josephine. I hope it's fun for you. It was really fun to talk with her about this. So enjoy. I have a special guest for part of this episode today, and that special guest is my daughter, Josephine, who is 11 these days. Hi, Josephine.
Hi.
So, Josephine, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about growth mindset because I think you're really good at it. And then there are a couple places where it's trickier for you to access. And I thought that if you and I talked about where it's easy for us and where it's not so easy for us, it might help anyone who's listening understand how it makes such a huge difference. Let's talk a little bit about growth mindset and drawing. Because I think that sometimes when you're drawing, you totally have growth mindset. You're like, okay, I'm learning, I'm figuring this out, I'm getting better. And then other times I'm going to say you don't have growth mindset with drawing. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what does it look like when you are drawing and you are like, you know what? I'm learning and I'm getting better. Like, tell me, what do I see you doing?
I usually end up trying something new, like something that I haven't tried before. And also I end up, instead of just erasing the whole thing when I make mistakes, I just kind of add on to it and be like, oh, actually, this isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're making room to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what about times when you're drawing and you don't have growth mindset? What does that look like?
So when I don't have growth mindset and I'm drawing, it's a lot of erasing. It is like, depending if I'm doing it virtually or on paper, it's a lot of erasing. It's tearing the paper, it's throwing it away, and it's just deciding not to draw because I can't do it. And it's too hard.
And by the way, I have things like that too. I have times where I can have growth mindset, and even sometimes recording this podcast, I come down and I'm like, okay, I'm learning and I'm figuring this out and I'm figuring out my process. And then other times I'll come down and I get really frustrated. I'm like, I just can't do this. And I leave. So how does it feel when we get really frustrated and where we're like, I can't do this?
It feels bad, but also it makes you feel like you're going to give up, but it also makes you feel like you can't do this because you can't get better. And you're just so close-minded about it that you just don't draw for the rest of the week or just stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just give up, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you even just give up. So yeah, I have that experience too. And I get, I think, frustrated, but also kind of sad, like a little depressed, like a little sad and depressed because I'm upset that I wasn't able to do the thing that I wanted to do. And then also I'm like judging myself for it. I don't know. Do you have that experience too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel guilty because, with my experience at least, like I feel guilty because I can't do it and I should be able to do it because I've been practicing for so long and it should be easy to me, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the spell that I'm teaching in this episode goes like this. When we're in a place and we're like, I can't draw, I can't record this podcast, I can't, whatever it is that we're trying to do. If we want to invite in growth mindset, what we have to do is take out I can't and put in I'm figuring out how to. What do you think of that?
I really like that spell, and it reminds me of kind of what you've been telling me, like, every time I get frustrated. It's like, you tend to not like it when I'm like, yeah, I can't do this, and you always make it like, always try to correct me, and instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I'm getting frustrated and trying to learn how to do this. And I've kind of tried to, like, think of it that way, but it's sometimes hard too, like, because when you're in that mindset, it feels like you can't. So it's hard to change it. It's hard to just switch your mindset, and it's going to take practice.
I'm so glad you said that because I think that is totally right. Like when you're in the middle of it, you know, our brains are more like animals than they are like machines. And so it's really hard to just say, oh, I'm going to pause this thinking and I'm going to play that thinking, right? So what are some ways, even before we shift the way we're thinking, what are some ways that you like to kind of switch gears and take care of the animal that is your brain?
Okay, so this might sound kind of like giving up, but I like to just take a break and go away from the project and come back to it later when I have a more open mindset. And, like,
I don't think that sounds like giving up at all. Taking a break sounds like a great idea.
And I feel like I like to do something relaxing, like maybe watch a YouTube video, listen to a podcast. Yeah, I want to, like, kind of be entertained instead of forcing myself to do something that I don't feel comfortable to do at the moment.
I like that idea of being entertained, like let yourself be receptive. Because here I've been trying to like do something and I'm being really active. So when I can shift and just say, okay, I'm just going to be passive now. And that might be, yeah, watching something, listening to something, reading something. I know for me, sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to go get some groceries, or I'm going to take the dogs for a walk, and that will help me too.
Yeah. I think that, like, idea has really helped me a lot because I've gotten so much more open-minded when I'm doing something and I get frustrated with it, instead of just, like, keep trying at the moment while I'm still frustrated, and it makes me unable of doing it because I'm just so mad at the project. But when I just kind of do something else and go away from the project for like maybe 2 hours or something, I come back to it with fresh mind and new ideas and with better attitude.
Yeah. Maybe like a little bit more patience with myself too. That's what I feel happens is when I'm and the opposite of growth mindset is called fixed mindset. And when you think about that fixed, it's like stuck, it's not moving. And I can get really impatient with myself when I'm stuck. So sometimes, yeah, opening it up by moving and opening it up by giving myself a break. I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like really important to kind of tell yourself that you can do it, but maybe not right now. Like, you can definitely do this thing. Maybe you need to go have a snack, watch something, go on a walk, go outside, and just do something that kind of doesn't feel necessary. It doesn't feel like you have pressure on yourself to do this thing, and it feels like something you want to do. Because a lot of the time when you have that fixed mindset, it makes it really hard. Like, it feels like you have to do it. It doesn't feel optional.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you said that, because this is the other part of that spell. So one of the things that we could say, right, to move from I can't, because I can't is when you know you're in fixed mindset. When you believe I can't, you know you're in fixed mindset. So one of the things you could say is, I'm figuring out how to, or I'm learning how to, right? But here's another thing. If that doesn't feel good, then I think the thing to say is, I choose not to. Because like you said, if it's something that you just really don't want to do, then it's not going to feel good. Even if you say, oh, I'm learning how, or I'm figuring it out, right? So it's got to be something that you have a desire to do.
And also with that same thing, it doesn't always have to be something you have to do it. Like, it could be drawing. It doesn't have to be work or school or something like that. It could be drawing, and you could just be sitting down to draw because you want to. But then you get a pressure on yourself that you want to, but you need to. And it's not the same anymore. It's not for pleasure anymore. It's for...
like proving something?
Yeah, it's for proving yourself worthy of being able to do this thing, even if just having that fixed mindset makes you unable to.
Yeah, holding yourself, or for me, it's like I'm holding myself to this really high standard. And when I'm stumbling a little bit, or it's not coming out in the world how perfect it is in my head, and I'm like, oh, I can't do it, right? It does. It shifts out of like, oh, this is something I really want to do. And so when I'm choosing to, when I say, okay, I choose to draw and I'm figuring it out, or I choose to record a podcast and I'm figuring it out. And I can always say, I choose not to, and that's okay. But I can't, I say we get rid of I can't. What do you think?
Yeah. But yeah, like I said before, it's really hard to. It's really hard to get rid of I can't. It's hard to switch your mindset completely, because when you're in that zone, you're like, you can't get out of it easily.
Yeah, I think that is just wise as fuck. That's really good. Because, yeah, we need a little break, right? And so it's good to take breaks anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josephine, thank you so much for talking about this with me. I knew you would have good wisdom to share.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Isn't that child amazing? So I have to admit to you, I cringed a little bit when she said, you correct me. But then I remembered, you know what? I am still learning. I'm still figuring out this whole parenting thing, because I don't want her to have the being corrected vibe. I want her to have a being guided and being loved vibe. In any case, you know, I think part of the reason that I wanted to invite Josephine's voice into this episode is that I think for many of us, it's easy to think about how children are growing. Children are figuring it out. Children are adapting and cultivating skills. Of course they are. But my friend, so are you. And so am I. We are growing too. We are also figuring it out. So I would love when you find yourself in one of those moments that Josephine described so well, one of those fixed mindset moments that are so frustrating. I mean, number one, take her very wise advice. Take a break. Give yourself a break. Allow yourself to be receptive. Give yourself a change in scenery or in mode. Right? When you find yourself fixed, don't wrestle yourself out of it. Find the pressure release valve. And then two, I would love for when you come back to the thing that is challenging, whatever it is, the house that's perpetually messy, where you're believing, I can't keep this house clean. Or the morning routine that you keep saying you're going to do, but you're believing you just can't make it happen. I'll come back to this and ask yourself, do I want to? Do I want to? Do I want to do this myself? If you don't, well, I choose not to keep this house clean. I choose not to execute this perfect morning routine. Be in the power of that and choose something that suits you better. Step into the possibility and the potential, the co-creativity that emerges when you say, you know what, this is actually not for me. Maybe it is for someone else. Maybe I could get help, or maybe I could just let it go. If it's a yes, I do want to do this. I do want this morning routine. I do want this tidy house. Okay. I'm learning how to. I'm learning how to. Thinking of yourself even as maybe a kid version of you. A kid version of you. When you heard Josephine talking about drawing, let's just imagine for a moment hearing her say, I can't do it. And how with all your heart and all your cells in your body, you would just want to wrap around her and infuse her with love and self-love, with hope, with understanding that, yes, this is hard, but you're figuring it out. And actually, this is what it feels like to figure it out. Sometimes learning how to and figuring it out involves a lot of failure. But with growth mindset, we don't see failure as an ending. We see failure as a means to further growth. And I know that can be really tricky in this culture of ours. I know that. But when we see it that way, when we harness growth mindset, we surprise ourselves. We open possibility. We connect in this co-creative world. We learn and we grow. We do it individually and we do it collectively. And I'm so glad that you are growing here with me. I'm with you, my friend. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mind Witchery. To catch all the magic I'm offering, please subscribe to the show. Or if you want a little bit of weekly witchiness in your inbox, sign up for my Sunday letter at mindwitchery.com. If today's episode made you think of a friend or loved one, your sister, your neighbor, please tell them about it. We need more magic makers in this troubled world. Like all good things, this podcast is co-created by stellar people. Our music is by fabulous DJ, artist, and producer Shammy D. Our gorgeous art is by the sorcerers at New Moon Creative. Mind Witchery is produced in conjunction with Particulate Media, K.O. Myers, executive producer, and I am Natalie Miller. Till next time. Hello. As promised, here is a little bit of info about my new group coaching program called Crucible. You know what a crucible is? A crucible is a container in which transformation occurs. It's a strong container, basically like where you melt down metals so that you can make new things. You can make alloys. And my program is called Crucible because it is designed to give you a space where you can summon the courage, the inspiration, the momentum that you need to finally take action on, to finally manifest that thing that you have been wanting to do. And what is that thing? I don't know. That thing might be a new offer if you are an entrepreneur. That thing might be the idea for the book that's been swirling around in your head. It might be an outline for that book. It might be a whole short story. That thing might be a job description for the assistant that you've been wanting to hire. That thing might be your own podcast. Whatever that thing is that you keep thinking, someday I'd really love to make this happen. Crucible says, let's do it now and let's do it together. So Crucible offers 7 weeks of group coaching. Crucible offers insight into how it is exactly that I take an idea and make it real. Right? Now, this is not about me kind of imposing my method onto you, but it is about sparking your own creativity and insisting on a self-honoring way of creating. Yeah? Crucible is about community with other people who are also making it happen. And I cannot even begin to put into words how valuable that is. How much of a difference it makes to be surrounded by other people who are expanding and growing into what's next. Crucible is in large measure about helping you to claim the time and energy that you need to create what's next. And so we'll use my anti-planner, Time Witchery, to do that. We will use co-working sessions that are hosted by Flow Club. I'm very excited about that part in particular. So Crucible is not assuming that you have the willpower and courage and time and energy to make this thing happen. In fact, Crucible says, let's give you a place to generate that, to generate all that you need in order to manifest what it is that you want next. So you are invited. You can go check out Crucible at timewitchery.com/crucible. We begin on April 10th. We go through April and most of May, and then we get to take off for the summer having finally taken action on that thing that you've been toying with, flirting with, wondering about, dreaming about for so long. So again, more details at timewitchery.com/crucible. I super hope you will meet me inside.